everyone and welcome. My name is Kudzie Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video I'm going to be doing a part 2 of my experience in an Australian hospital giving birth. Please do go back and watch part 1 if you haven't already, and in part 1 I talk about the experience that I had with prenatal care and the birthing experience. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the costs associated with giving birth in Australia, and I will also be talking about paid parental leave. So as I mentioned in part 1 of this video, I gave birth to my 2 children here in Australia, one in 2015 and one in 2021. And with both children, I gave birth at a public hospital. And I'm just going to start with the costs. Public hospital versus private hospital. So there is a very big difference in cost when you go public versus private. I can tell you that for my son and my daughter, the total bill that I paid for both, this is including prenatal, birthing experience, and postnatal care, the total amount of money that I paid with both my children is $0. I didn't pay a cent towards the experience I had giving birth to my kids because I went in a public hospital. So if you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, you do not pay anything towards the maternity care that you receive. And this is because you will have Medicare, and Medicare is like the Australian healthcare system. So all Australians, permanent residents and citizens have Medicare. They have access to Medicare. So what that means is you can go to any public hospital and get treated for free. So this is not only for maternity care, this also includes other different care and other different like surgeries or anything that you need to do in a public hospital. So that's the cost that you need. Now there is one important thing that I would like to share in terms of Australian permanent residents. I know that if you're coming to Australia for the first time, you can come on a permanent resident visa. Now, if you are new to Australia and you have arrived on a permanent resident visa, there is actually a 2-year waiting period before you can access paid parental leave. So I will leave that for later. So that's for paid parental leave. So you can give birth like with on Medicare for free, but when it comes to paid parental leave, I'll get into that. There is a waiting period. So that's something important to consider. Now going on to the costs of giving birth, if you are going in a public hospital, but you are not an Australian resident or permanent, you're not an Australian citizen or permanent resident. That means you're on a temporary work visa or visitor's visa or any other temporary visa in Australia. You will have to pay out of pocket to receive maternity care. Now, the cost of that depends on your pregnancy. So usually it goes from, I would say on average, it's $5,000 plus. And this is just for the birth. If your birth is straightforward, it's obviously on the lower side of the scale. It can go up to $10,000 plus if you're going for a C-section, and depending on the complications that might arise during that C-section. So these are out of pocket expenses. The other thing that you need to consider is when you give birth, there are other things that you need prior to actually giving birth, such as prenatal appointments. You need to attend your prenatal appointments, and you will also need to go for your scans to look at the progress and the health of your pregnancy. Now, all these will also be out of pocket expenses if you are on a temporary work visa. Now, I'm going to give an approximate figure because it's really hard to give like one big figure. It really depends on the nature of the pregnancy, what the woman needs, the type of specialty care. But I can let you know that on average, for the whole experience, postnatal, prenatal, birthing, and postnatal, you would need approximately about 20,000 Australian dollars out of pocket if you are on a temporary work visa or any other temporary visa in Australia in a public hospital or a private hospital. Like it's really, you will need in excess of $20,000, because I'll just give you like a bit of insight into like what are some of those costs associated with. For example, if you're going to be staying overnight, which is 99% of parents stay in the hospital overnight for at least a night. Some, depending on what you need, might stay 1, 2, or 3 nights, sometimes more. But approximately, the cost of a maternity bed is about $2,500, $2,700 per night. So those are some of the things that you need to consider as well. If you have private health and you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, you will still need to have some out-of-pocket expenses. As I've mentioned before, the price per night in a maternity ward is quite a lot, in excess of $2,000, same as a private hospital. So if you have private health insurance, your private health insurance will cover the cost of your stay in hospital. However, they will not cover the cost of the actual birth, unless you have, I'm not sure if you've got like special insurance, but most private health insurance, they will have an out-of-pocket expense of at least $5,000 for natural birth, going up like 10,000 plus if you're going C-section, or depending on other complications that might arise. So you will still have a significant out-of-pocket expense even if you have private health insurance. And so that's it for the birthing aspect. Now comes to parental leave. Obviously, once you've had your child, you need to take some time off in order to take care of that child. Now, one of the things I love, absolutely love about Australia is how family friendly this country is. And one of the things that demonstrate that is paid parental leave. The Australian government offers paid parental leave at the moment for the primary carer or the birth mother of the child, or like if you're in adoption, the birth mother, the primary carer. But at the moment, the mother of the child is offered 18 weeks of paid parental leave. And I think that is so good. Like 18 weeks is a long time to be spending with your baby. And this is just what the government offers. And in how much you get for those 18 weeks is you will be getting $812.45 before tax per week on paid parental leave. So for the 18 weeks, each week you'll be getting $812. That is quite good. Like if you are not working and you're just being given government support to take care of your child, and this is available to all Australian citizens and permanent residents. Now, I mentioned before that if you are a permanent resident but you're newly arrived in the country, there is a 2-year waiting period before you can access government paid parental leave. So if you're looking to come to Australia and start your family before those 2 years, you will not be entitled to receive paid parental leave even if you're a permanent resident. So you will need to make other arrangements on how you are going to support yourself while you take care of the child and you're possibly not working during that period. So this is the 18 weeks is currently for the birth mother of the child. Now, the government also offers paternity leave, paid paternity leave for the biological father of the child. So the biological father is entitled to 2 weeks paid, which is the same amount of money, $812, that you will receive during that time that you take 2 weeks paid from the government. Another thing is, depending on where you work, you can get extra maternity leave benefits from your workplace. Now, with both my children, I took 12 months off work while I cared for my children in the first, that period of early life. So for me, I was able to take 12 months off because I took the 18 months offered by the government. And I also took 20 weeks from my workplace, 20 weeks paid parental leave from my workplace, and I paired those together. And I also had long service leave and annual leave that I used, plus also used some savings in order to sustain us for the period that I was off work for 12 months. And yeah, so if you don't have, like if you're a casual at your job, or you're not permanent, or you haven't worked at your workplace for at least 12 months, your workplace, you won't get those paid parental leave benefits from your workplace. So you might just have to rely on the 18 months offered by the government. Now, there are some important changes coming as of the 1st of July 2023. So paid parental leave will actually be increasing from 18 weeks to 20 weeks, which is amazing. And at the moment, paid parental leave is for the birth mother of the child. But as of the 1st of July 2023, paid parental leave will be for the primary carer of the child, which includes dads. So that means that dads can also take paid parental leave, and it's not only the birth mother. And these changes are also happening in different workplaces as well, where they used to offer maternity leave, the big chunk of time just for the birth mother. Now that's being extended to the father, because sometimes the woman might choose to go to work full-time and the dad would choose to stay as the primary carer of the child. So I think that's a really inclusive change that is coming, and that increase of 2 weeks is quite significant. I'm sure if you have children, you'll understand, or even if you don't have children, 2 weeks extra is very valuable time to spend with your child that is paid by the government. So that's the paid parental leave that is available for Australian residents and Australian citizens and permanent residents. If you're on a temporary work visa or any other temporary visa in Australia, you will not be entitled to those parental leave benefits. I think that, it's something that's important to consider, because sometimes people have a family when they have planned for it, and sometimes they might have a family when they haven't planned for it. So just wanted to share some of those costs in case you find yourself in that situation where you're planning to have a family, or the family just comes to you as a gift unplanned. It's important to know the different costs associated, because children are they require a lot of care in terms of emotional, but they also require a lot of financial support as well. And in my previous video, I also spoke about the cost of childcare in Australia. So if you look at, the cost of giving birth and the money that you need and the cost of childcare, that is quite a significant cost, and things that you need to consider in your planning if you are planning to build or expand your family. So yeah, that's it from me, guys, when it comes to the different costs associated and paid parental leave. Please let me know if you have any questions, and in the comment section below, and I will try as much as I can to provide you with the information that you need. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.